In 1993, City Hunter got its own live-action adaptation, directed by Wong Jing and starring action superstar Jackie Chan. The film was, in my opinion, a very enjoyable and fun ride, but I also felt it didn't feel very faithful to the manga or anime, as I'm sure many other fans of Tsukasa Hojo's series felt as well. It got a lot of the comedy and roles of the characters very right, but it also felt like they only looked at those comedic aspects of the series and characters without paying much mind to anything else. However, believe it or not, there was another adaptation of City Hunter in live action, one that might satisfy your need for a more faithful work based on Tsukasa Hojo's series. In 1996, an unofficial adaptation of City Hunter was produced in Hong Kong, entitled Mangbo, or otherwise known as Mr. Mumble. Mangbo was the Chinese name for Ryu Seiba used in the prior adaptation, so the same case applies here, with Mumble being used as the phonetic English translation for the subtitles. Now, what exactly do I mean by this being an unofficial adaptation? Well, basically, they were allowed to use the characters and situations from City Hunter without actually having to acquire the license. But the trade-off is that none of the names are present here. For the sake of convenience, I will use the Japanese names for all these characters for the remainder of the video. The basic premise is as follows. Following a screw-up at the Hong Kong police force resulting from a night of his drinking, skilled marksman and pervert Ryu Seiba, referred to here as Mangbo, is fired by his superior and finds himself jobless and living above a bar owned by his friend Umibozu, referred to here as Monster. Eventually, a woman wanders into the bar whom Ryo tries to hook up with unsuccessfully. However, this woman is linked to some powerful people in the triads, and her fiancé gets assassinated. Her father enlists Ryo to act as her bodyguard against any and all potential threats. However, things get a bit more complicated as she starts falling for Ryo herself. Right off the bat, there are a few obvious differences. Instead of being in a private detective business already, Ryo starts out as a sniper of the Hong Kong police force. A few important characters are missing or altered. And I don't want to give too much away, but there is a sort of stand-in for Kiari in this film. She isn't in it a lot, and her relationship to Ryo is much different than the manga, but it is enough to be an obvious stand-in for the character. Aside from that, the movie honestly feels like it could have been something ripped straight from the anime. It has all the familiar beats, action, and comedy you'd expect from an episode of City Hunter, balancing out the humor with a semi-serious story. It feels a lot more faithful to the style of the manga and anime than the Jackie Chan film did. As far as performances go, Micheal Chow feels like the perfect translation of Ryu Seiba into live action. He has the looks, the physicality, and perfectly captures the charm, goofiness, sometimes serious, and perverted personality of Ryo. Chow is listed as director in the version that I watched, and it feels like he had a good understanding of the character of Ryo, and as a result did a great job of translating him into live action. Françoise Yip portrays this movie's version of Seiko Nagami, here called Yachi. She is known for her roles in Rumble in the Bronx and Black Mask. She does a fine job of portraying the character, with the relationship between her and Ryo giving off the same vibes as it did in the source material. Perhaps my favorite cast member aside from Micheal Chow is Hong Ying-yoon as Umibozu. In the film, he is referred to as Monster, and he is pretty much a spot-on interpretation of Umibozu. He's a bit more friendly with Ryo than he is in the anime, but he brings a great amount of charm to the role. And I mean, just look at him. That is, in my opinion at least, just a spot-on live-action version of Umibozu. Pauline Suen, who portrays a new character for the film named Sharon, does a good job as the female lead. She's a fun character and has a lot of great moments with Ryo. As far as negatives go, I suppose the humor may or may not land well depending on the viewer, but I found most of the jokes to be funny and a bit more balanced in conjunction with the story versus the last live-action film. I suppose my main complaints from a fan perspective come from how Kaori was adapted into this version. Without giving away too much, I was for the most part fine with what had been changed for her in terms of how it fit the story. I just wish she was involved in it more throughout, as opposed to just the scenes we ended up getting her in. I really like Kaori Makimura, and what we were shown here feels like something that would have been great to see more of. I will say though, she looks a lot more like Kaori looked in the manga than she did in the Jackie Chan adaptation, specifically with the choice of hairstyle. Mr. Mumble may not be perfect in terms of adaptation, but I really do think it does a fantastic job of capturing the spirit and tone of the manga, as well as the characterization of Ryo. There are things I would have liked to have seen more of, such as a greater usage of Kaori, but so much of what ended up in the film in terms of set pieces and situations feel like they were taken straight from the source material. If you're a City Hunter fan who felt that the Jackie Chan film and the K-drama didn't feel enough like the manga or anime, and also like me don't have access to the new French film, or are just a fan of 90s Hong Kong action films, I'd say give Mr. Mumble a go. As of recording, it should be easy to find online and is available to purchase on physical media on some sites. What I love about live actions is the potential to express a work or character in a new medium. While many adaptations of manga and anime have not been good or even flat out awful, I do think there are several winners and underrated examples, and I do think Mr. Mumble shines bright as one of those hidden gems.